welcome to Razz Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Rocketman. Rocketman is a biopic musical directed by Dexter Fletcher, and it's about none other than Elton John, played by Taron Egerton. And I highly emphasize the word musical here because this movie is not a normal drama biopic, it's a full-fledged musical with a lot of over-the-top musical numbers. And I don't think the movie was advertised that way, because when I saw it, I was shocked to find out just how much of a musical it actually is. Which is one of many reasons why Rocketman was actually a fantastic, pleasant surprise for me. I didn't think I was gonna enjoy this movie as much as I did. I didn't just enjoy it, I love this movie. It's a complete over-the-top fantasy-like musical with a lot of dreamlike elements in it that were really enjoyable and very, very creative and captivating to watch. It kind of reminded me of Across the Universe, which is another musical film based on the Beatles' music, not focusing on their life. This kind of is a mishmash of that plus Bohemian Rhapsody. And that's the thing, this movie is gonna get compared a lot to Bohemian Rhapsody because of a lot of similarities, especially with the type of characters it portrays and the time in history, in music, the sexual orientation of their characters, and generally the lifestyle of these people is very similar. And interestingly enough, the director of this film is actually the person who stepped in after Bryan Singer to complete directing Bohemian Rhapsody. There's a bit of trivia for you. Now, as much as I enjoyed Bohemian Rhapsody, I actually think Rocketman is a better film because it's not a paint-by-number, straightforward biopic. It's actually very interesting, it has a very unique structure, and it also does what Bohemian Rhapsody didn't do, which is dig deep and dive into the darkness within Elton John. And this movie does not hold back. It's actually an R-rated film, however here we get it censored, but it went for the things that Bohemian Rhapsody didn't go for, and it made the film a lot more layered and a lot more dark and a lot more textured and deeper as a look into this man's life. And it doesn't actually follow his entire life. It takes a small section of his life, his rise to fame, and a very dark time in his life. And it gives us a really interesting idea about all the dark and deep-seated demons that lie within Elton John that make him who he is. It's not really about his music or his life story. It's about who he is as a person, why he is the way he is, and it dives into his mentality, which makes for a more evocative, intriguing film. And the dreamlike fantasy aspect really plays well with that and makes it a very unique experience for you, especially if you like Elton John, which I do, and especially if you like his music, which I do. It gave a new element to the music that made me understand his songs better. There are songs in this film that I actually don't like for Elton John. After seeing the film and seeing them in the context of his story and his life and his personality, I started liking those songs a lot more. And there's even songs that I liked, but I didn't really appreciate as much as I appreciate it now, or I even see it in a completely different light. So it was a very fulfilling experience for me as a fan of the man and his music. And I also thought that the stylistic choices that the director makes in this movie fit the man and his music so well. This movie is super over the top and completely absurd sometimes, and it works because that's who Elton John is. This movie fits Elton John's personality, where again, in Bohemian Rhapsody, I didn't feel like that film fit Freddie Mercury. I felt like Freddie Mercury was bigger than that film. And for a final comparison with Bohemian Rhapsody, and then I'm gonna stop, I promise, both films portray the same character, real-life music manager or producer John Reed. In Bohemian Rhapsody, he's played by Littlefinger, and here he's played by Rob Stark. In both films, he's an asshole, by the way. And just as good as Rami Malek was in Bohemian Rhapsody, so is Taron Egerton, which was a huge shock for me. Where the hell did this performance come from? The guy from Kingsman? What? He's amazing in this movie. Oscar time. He's absolutely electric. He's on fire on the screen, and he actually sings the songs, and he's really good, and he dances in the numbers. What? And also an incredible performance by Jamie Bell as Elton John's longtime friend and songwriting collaborator. He's amazing in this. He also deserves awards for his performance. Their chemistry together is incredible. Their friendship and relationship is the heart and soul in the film. I also got a comment on the incredible production design and the visuals of this film. The props, the outfits that he puts on. They brought so many of Elton John's crazy outfits, his glasses, his headgear. It was so cool. Visually, this movie is absolutely stunning. Definitely worth watching in the cinema because again, it's a big fantasy over-the-top musical extravaganza, so it's worth a big screen. It's definitely a unique film with a very interesting structure which makes it feel very fresh and different, but at the same time, this was one of the things that hurt it because structurally, it felt a little off for me because it didn't feel like a 3-act film. It kind of felt like 2 acts. Like the first half of the film was the rise of Elton John, and then the second half of the film is sort of his fall plus his inner demons. And I didn't feel like we got an actual 3rd act, which made it different, but at the same time, it made the ending feel a little off for me. I wasn't satisfied with the ending, and it kind of made me wish that Elton John died because we'd have a better 3rd act. But no, I don't want him to die. I love Elton John. I'm glad he's alive. But it definitely hurts the 3rd act element or the ending or the finale of the film. It feels like it just suddenly sort of ends without a proper resolution or even build up or even a big climax at the end. The climax kind of happens a little earlier. And another thing that bothered me a lot is that despite the fact that, again, it tried to be different than normal biopics, it still had generic plot points and moments that are typical of a biopic. And those moments, I felt, dragged the film down just a little bit because this film was so much better than that, so much different than that. Those elements kind of stuck out in comparison. Most notably also the antagonist, the evil music manager. We've seen that trope so many times. I didn't like how it was here. I didn't like the character because I felt like he was one-dimensional, mustache twirling, evil music manager. Like, he's very typical and generic. I felt like he doesn't belong in this film. I felt this film was more complicated than that and deserved a more complicated villain because people are more complicated than this. They're not just bad guys who just dick people around. There's a reason for why everybody does things, and I hope that the antagonist here would be that. He wasn't, so that was kind of a weak point in a otherwise overall very unique and interesting treatment of a story of a man who is, you know, a big, iconic person, and it was very tough, I think, to translate that into a film like this. So it's a challenging movie, it's a different movie, it's a unique movie, but it really exceeded my expectations. So all in all, this movie is a definite recommendation. If you're a fan of musicals and if you're a fan of Elton John, you have to go see it. Despite its weaknesses and some misses here, most of it is a hit and it's knocked out of the park, and I'm going to give Rocketman an 8.5 out of 10. So, have you seen Rocketman? Are you gonna check it out? What is your favorite Elton John song? Let me know in the comment section, and as always, like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to ask me what you'd like me to review for you next. See ya!